Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. As many of you know, and the main reason you're all here is we are um, sharing and showing the flyers that we have put together for the contest we have at Oostburg Elementary School to create a flyer for the upcoming field day. So I wanted to take a moment to share my entry into the contest and explain some of the reasoning and choices I made to create the flyer as I did. So to begin, we're focused on the Oostburg Elementary School field day, and my name, as many of you know, is Tim Stoddick. So to begin, I wanted to show the flyer that we created. In a couple of slides here, I'm going to discuss and share specific reasons for what we created, but as you can see, this is the flyer that I'm presenting. We have a picture of the Oostburg Elementary School entrance in the front there. Shows some kids having fun out in the grass like we will during our field day. Highlighting some of the things our families can do between games, prizes, food, and fun. Having some stars to show that excitement. And then, of course, right in the middle there, Oostburg Elementary School Field Day. So, in order to best explain the reason why I made the decisions in this flyer, there's a couple things that we're going to cover. So we're going to cover the effects of color, effects of lines, effects of balance, and effects of contrast. So I'm going to go through all this. I'm going to share a little bit as to why we picked the colors that we picked, the lines that we picked, the balance of the flyer, and the contrast in the flyer. And at the end, we're going to look at the flyer once again in a new light, if you would, with these four categories in mind. So let's start with the effects of color. So we picked the following colors to show up in our flyer. We have green, orange, and yellow. It's important at first to discuss big picture what each of these colors represent in our culture. Green is the color of luck in the United States. It can also communicate the concepts of money, growth, jealousy, the environment, illness, spring, youth, inexperience, and newness. For our flyer, we're focusing on the much more enjoyable aspects of this color. So we're using green to represent the spring environment we're coming into, and really for the youth of our children, right? Highlighting the environment and the youth of our children that green represents. The color orange is related to the fall season and Thanksgiving, Halloween, those fall holidays. It's an energetic color related to caution, vibrancy, energy, warmth, and cheerfulness. Now, once again, with this color orange, there are some negative and positive aspects of it, but we're going to focus on the positive aspects of this color that relate directly to our event. So for our flyer, orange is representing the energy and cheerfulness of our children. Yellow is associated with spring, joy, tartness, freshness, illness, caution, and the sun. Like I said, just like green and orange, we're focusing on the positive aspects and those that relate directly to our field day. So for the purpose of our flyer, I chose yellow to represent the joy and sun that our children will experience in attending this event, as well as everybody else that joins in. It's also important to note that we use a specific type of color scheme. It's an analogous color scheme. Basically what that means is we're taking three hues that are adjacent to each other and results in a harmonious relationship. One color can dominate and the other two colors play supporting roles. So when we review our flyer at the end here quick, we'll highlight that aspect of it because we purposefully picked the green, orange, and yellow since they are in that same hue and they go well together. Next, we're going to discuss the effects of lines. So lines in flyers can mean a multitude of different things, and there's varying types of lines. However, the two main types of lines we chose for our flyer are curved lines and diagonal lines. So we'll start with curved lines. So curved lines tend to give off a playful and graceful quality. Curved lines seem more flexible and graceful to viewers. Many organizations strategically use these types of lines to make viewers and clients feel at ease and secure. For example, a company that works with young or timid individuals may choose this type of line usage, the curved line. These types of characteristics are directly in alignment with the field day event we are advertising. So our field day is going to be fun, it's going to be playful, there's going to be a lot of good activities, so we want to use some curved lines in this flyer. The second line we're using, which I've mentioned, is diagonal lines. Now, diagonal lines are pleasant and stimulating to the eye. They're often used to help direct the eyes of viewers across visual media. Although these lines can be stimulating, using too many of them has been proven to create a nervous visual tension as well. For example, a company advertising for a spectacular and exciting event may choose this type of line usage. That's exactly what we want to capture with the diagonal lines in our flyer, is the spectacular and exciting event. You'll see it at the end, but we put the 4 varying categories of events that we're highlighting in it. The games, prizes, food, and fun, we put those on a diagonal tilt. And we were selective in that because we didn't want to have too many, because we didn't want it to be overwhelming as that highlights in that area. So once again, diagonal lines, pleasant and stimulating to the eye. Okay. By combining these 2 different types of lines, we're making sure not to overwhelm or bore the viewer with one simple line type. So that's another aspect of it as well. We could have had the same line through the whole event, but we want this, or the whole flyer rather, but we want the lines we choose to create excitement and fun is really what we want to evoke from this flyer overall. Next, we're going to highlight the effects of balance. So there's 2 pieces. There's visual balance and there's a central focal point. So for visual balance, our eyes themselves are physiologically attracted to images that leverage balance. Visual balance refers to the positioning of items. There's a center within every visual. When the image is equally populated in each area, this is a visual pleasing to the viewer. So we kept that in mind, and you'll see that once again as we look at the flyer to make sure our flyer was balanced out and equal. It just makes it more enjoyable for our eyes and for our mind to look at. Additionally, central focal point is the most important part of a visual. Viewers will look towards the center of the image at first. Having a balanced image allows for more attention-grabbing images. So, we'll look at this again in a moment, but in the center of our flyer was what we're here for, Oostburg Elementary School Field Day. So right away, our viewers will be drawn towards that center visual, that center focal point, which is the title of our event. Okay, so last, we're going to move on to the effects of contrast. And there's 2 pieces that we're going to highlight. Contrast overall, and then visual sensory balance. Contrast is a sensory element that is used to grab the eye strategically to a strategic visual element. And the visual sensory balance, our senses like to see the content boxes equally referenced to the main large box the image is centered around. So it kind of ties into the previous section we were just talking about, which is balance, as we like to see equal boxes and equal pieces. But specific to contrast, we want to make sure that even if the type or the font of the lettering or the pictures, even though they may vary from the center reference point, we still want to make sure they're centered around them. So we want to contrast, we want them to look different, but we also want it to still tie into that central point. Okay, so a lot of things we covered there, but I really wanted to give some background into why I chose the setup as I did. So once again, we're going to look at this flyer, but I'm going to talk through with it in front of us the perspectives that we may now see differently after covering this content. So once again, here's our flyer, and there's a couple things. Remember, we talked about the effect of color, the effect of lines, the effect of balance, and the effect of contrast. Those were our 4 categories that we want to cover. So specific color, we picked the 3 colors that work well together. We have the green, the yellow, and the orange. And you can see our main focal point, the Oostburg Elementary School Field Day. That is in a nice bright yellow. We have the stars around there. We have some yellow in the cones, orange in the cones, yellow on the balls that are on the screen for the kids in the field. And then we also have orange for the games, prizes, food, and fun. So we wanted to change up the color of the text just to vary it up a little bit. And we chose to use the large green background because, for one, it ties into the yellow and orange, but also because that's representing the grass, the field day that we're having. So that's where those colors come into play. And once again, we have the yellow and orange in the stars, and we have the yellow in the middle, and then it's outlined with the orange. And that ties in nicely to the text of the Oostburg Elementary School Field Day and of the games, food, prizes, and fun. Let's looking at the color a little bit differently. Now lines. So like we said, we picked 2 types of lines. We want a diagonal line and a curved line. you can see it in the center focal point, which we'll discuss again in a moment, of the Oostburg Elementary School field day. There's just a slight curve to that graphic. The letters are nice and rounded. They're not chopped off, just to kind of create that round, fun feel, kind of like a balloon, right? Like a carnival balloon that way. And then the other four words in there, games, food, prizes, fun, we put those on a diagonal just to kind of point towards the field day, but to break up font and the lines in this flyer. I just mentioned it, but the of balance, we have visual balance. So in the middle, the focal point is our title of this event, right? The Oostburg Elementary School Field Day. The games, food, prizes, and fun are each spaced equally on the corners of this flyer. They're all the same font. They're all the same size. The stars even, those are spaced equally on either side of the picture. So once again, everything has kind of that harmonious, equal feel, but we also varied up what it looked like so that it was visually pleasing to the eye as well. Last is the effects of contrast. So once again, we have our center focal point, and we contrasted that font with the games, food, prizes, fun, but we made sure that those still were spaced evenly around it, even though the font and the text size contrasted the middle one. And then lastly, we just wanted to add some nice visuals of the pictures. We have our school in the bottom, once again centered in between, underneath the Oostburg Elementary School field day, and then a nice picture of the kids playing outside on top. So big picture, I just wanted to explain a little bit more in detail why I chose the setup that I did, that we were conscious of the colors that we picked, of the lines that we used, the balance, and then the contrast. Because overall, the big part about this event is our kids having fun and our families having fun. So we want to make sure that we do a really good job of creating a flyer that will be very inviting and visually pleasing for families and other visitors and children to come visit. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with each of you my flyer and the thoughts and creation idea behind it. And that takes care of my presentation. So thank you again, and have a wonderful day.